Part 53. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 521. Chapter 521 Rare things are more valuable. Lu Ziwen and Zhang Junlin both came to take notes. After taking notes separately, Gu Xi and Gu Ziu were almost done talking. Gu Ziu still had a bad face and looked very difficult to deal with. Lu Ziwen said, "You brat, you have a bad temper." Gu Ziu glared at him. Lan Yan is in trouble. Because of his father, his mother had the idea of abandoning him. This made Gu Ziu very unhappy. He was also very conflicted. He hoped that his parents would love each other, but he also hoped that his father would love his mother more and that his mother would not love his father so much. What a mother loves most in the world should be herself, and she should not lose her mind or life for anyone. Lu Ziwen was a little confused by the words Lan Yan's misfortune comes down. Seeing his son's angry look, Lu Ziwen decided not to provoke him for the time being. A rebellious boy couldn't afford to offend him. Zhang Junlin sat quietly waiting for news about Chen Liangdong. Chen Liangzhu was under investigation and must give them an explanation. He could wait for the outcome in Kuowen. Although Chen Liangzhu was under investigation and the evidence was conclusive, the results would definitely not be given within one day. Chen Liangdong also told the truth. Lu Ziwen said, "If this is the case, when will the results of Chen Liangzhu's matter be announced and when will people be sent? Find me at Universal, I will be waiting for you at Universal." Okay, Chen Liangdong also agreed. Lu Ziwen was afraid that the global explosion would happen again, so he did not go to Lanshan Villa. Information leaked everywhere these days, and he did not want to cause trouble for Gu Xi and Gu Ziu. They parted ways at Guowen. Li Jiang's car was parked in the parking lot downstairs, waiting to take Lu Ziwen home. Zhang Junlin sent Gu Xi and Gu Ziu home. Gu Xi and Gu Ziu were still a little unaccustomed to going home. They were used to Lu Ziwen being at home these days. They unconsciously looked towards the study downstairs, feeling a little disappointed when they didn't see anyone. The days of family reunion are over. "Brother, is this plan feasible?" Gu Xi was worried. "If Chen Liangzhu doesn't leave the institute, will our plan fail?" "He will definitely leave," Zhang Junlin was confident. "Otherwise it will be a waste of our long-term layout. As long as Kuowen takes over this matter, there is a glimmer of hope. I believe in Chen Liangdong." Even though they are two brothers with different temperaments and characters, Zhang Junlin is willing to believe Chen Liangdong. Okay, let's wait for the news. One day later, Chen Liangzhu's case was decided. He was not removed from his post, but was given a disciplinary action. I don't know how he got over it. Fortunately, he was transferred from the institute and a new person was assigned to take over. This is an extremely evil person, and his relationship with Zhang Junlin is very secretive. No one knows about it. Zhang Junlin finally feels relieved. The superiors also agree to Lu Ziwen's request and let the national security process monitor the study and let Gu Xi participate. As long as Gu Xi does not agree, Lu Ziwen will not be harmed. This matter was originally very confidential, but I don't know how the news was leaked. Country M wanted to participate in the experiment and put forward many attractive conditions. Zhang Junlin said euphemistically, "You can open your mouth like a lion." Chen Liangdong saw that Zhang Junlin was so determined, and he had a vague judgment in his heart. Even if he was dissected, he probably wouldn't be able to find anything. The current interests were the most important, so there was no reason not to agree. Lu Ziwen vetoed it with one vote. Because the global explosion had a bad impact and innocent people were killed and seriously injured, Lu Ziwen did not want them to participate in the research. This veto power is very important. After many discussions, they also respect Lu Ziwen's wishes. Moreover, they also want to make any new discoveries, and they do not want Country M to know about it. Gu Xi accompanied Lu Ziwen to the research institute. The new person in charge was named Lin Chuan. He was 45 years old and had a background in scientific research. He personally came to pick up Lu Ziwen and his attitude was very good. 6 more people were added to the scientific research team. This time, their attitude towards Gu Ci was completely different. They no longer excluded her. Gu Ci was a little nervous when she entered the research institute. Although she knew that the whole process was monitored and someone was in control, she was inevitably a little uneasy. Lu Ziwen first went for a comprehensive examination. This examination was mainly to see if his body structure was different from ordinary people. Gu Ci secretly thought that she really didn't understand the researcher's thoughts. If Lu Ziwen had the body from thousands of years ago, she might be a little worried. After all, humans will evolve, and the body will be somewhat different, but Lu Ziwen is not. After Gu Ci agreed, the inspection began. Gu Ziyu participated in the whole process of monitoring this time. He put down his work and stared at the monitoring screen, asking his people to also stare at it and not let it go. Gu Ci would check every medicine inside. With such double insurance, there is no fear that Lu Ziwen will be plotted against. Ji Sun and Rong Li bid farewell to the heads of the Black Hawk families at the airport. Prose and Brown looked at Rong Li resentfully. "We are brothers, and you almost killed us by hiding the news about the third master." "Brother, I have already given you a hint." Rong Li held a cigar in his mouth and said nonchalantly, "You have nothing to lose. From now on, don't listen to wind or rain. Be obedient. You will be indispensable for food and drink. If you listen to others, the Chen family will be, for example, if Chen Rishi is the second in command of the Black Hawk, Ji Sun may not be able to take the position. He can't figure it out and has to run around. The Chen family has oppressed you for decades, and now it's gone. The third master is already very kind. This is a typical slap in the face, giving you half a candy, removing all power from others, and pretending to be a good person. People like Perlis and Brown are really in trouble, and there is nothing they can do. Rong Li is right. If he is disobedient, he will end up like Chen Rishi. They are very afraid of the third master. They hope that the third master will die in this research and be plotted against him. Only when they are completely dead can they have hope." But Pulos looked at Ji Sun, who was smiling and welcoming. Even if the third master died and Ji Sun had already settled down, would they really have hope? Not necessarily. Ji Sun smiled and said, "Have a nice trip, everyone. Welcome to visit Sitia often." Rong Li pulled Prose aside and secretly gave him a small box. "Master Pu, don't say I'm not mean, this is the third master's bone marrow, so you can do business easily." Prose was surprised, stroking the box with trembling hands. How did you get it?" "Master Pu came with a mission." "Brother, you have taken it to heart. Is it interesting?" Rong Li flicked his cigar and said, "Are you not disappointed?" "This is so interesting." Pros patted Rong Li on the shoulder happily. "You are my forever brother. A few days ago we had to circumcise our robes, but today we are brothers forever." Rong Li sneered, "Okay, it's time for you to get on the plane. Ji Sun and I won't see you off." A few people said goodbye, and Ji Sun and Rong Li walked out. Ji Sun was very tired after a few days of socializing. Finally, these plague gods have been dispatched. Black Eagle is now internally stable. Why did the third master take his bone marrow away to them? Rong Li said, "Things that are rare are valuable. If they are available everywhere, there is nothing rare about them." End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 522. Chapter 522, I can die with peace of mind. Lu Ziwen entered the laboratory. In a total of 10 days, the scientific research team had done all the examinations and research that should be done. The conclusion was that Lu Ziwen was no different from ordinary people, and all the experimental data were normal. The scientific research team was helpless. They also had orders and had to come to a conclusion. Unexpectedly, there was really nothing unusual about it. Fortunately, in the video taken by Tang Mingzhou, the teleportation can be explained, and Lu Ziwen's more anti-human behavior was not captured. If someone had captured Lu Ziwen flying up to catch Gu Ci when Gu Ci jumped off the building to test, that would have been the whole world was shocked. Teleportation can really be explained by Chinese Kung Fu. Moreover, there is really nothing to be researched on, so we cannot dissect him. After Zhang Junlin learned of the results of the laboratory, he signaled a double-sided agent to give a copy to Country M, which also confirmed that Lu Ziwen had no value for research. Lu Ziwen himself also gave the bone marrow and teleported using mysterious Chinese Kung Fu. The explanation is very suitable. Anyway, I didn't capture any more anti-human behavior. The research institute was a little reluctant. They made such a big fuss but failed to produce scientific research results. They were really unwilling. However, Lu Ziwen was very cooperative. Gu Ci was also very cooperative on the basis of not harming Lu Ziwen's body. He should do what he had to do. They had done all the experiments. Some people also wanted Lu Ziwen to show off his superpower. What Lu Ziwen showed was teleportation. Within 10 meters, he could move very quickly, but beyond 10 meters he could do nothing. This was Lu Ziwen's intention. Even if they knew, there is no way to confirm it. Since I can't get a result, I am a normal person, can I leave? Lu Ziwen asked leisurely. He had lost 10 pounds in the 10 days since he came to the institute. With Gu Ci by his side, Gu Zia would also make an excuse to come. When Gu Zia was the only one around him, he would not feel pain. As soon as Gu Zia left, he felt uncomfortable all over. Gu Ci also knew it and deliberately stayed far away from him, so Lu Ziwen had a bad appetite and everyone thought he was being eaten. Draw blood, experiment, and lose weight. Not only do we need to let him go, but we also need to officially declare that he is an ordinary person. I hope you will respect yourself and not disturb an ordinary person's life. Gu Ci also made a request. The institute had no choice but to give up. The samples were all there. In fact, it didn't matter if Lu Ziwen left. After reporting the results and getting approval, Chen Liangdong made the decision to let Lu Ziwen leave the institute. And it is officially announced that Lu Ziwen is just an ordinary person. His ability to teleport is because his physical quality is different from ordinary people, that's all. The superpowers that have been turbulent for several months have finally been settled. Li Zhang came to the research institute to pick him up. Although Lu Ziwen was not tortured, a living person was imprisoned for 10 days for experiments, and his spirit was a little depressed. Gu Zia was beside him, and Gu Ci helped him get into the car and asked Li Zhang to send him off. He went back to Universal and had a good rest. Lu Ziwen looked at the mother and son outside the car with some nostalgia, but Gu Zia didn't show any nostalgia at all. Dad, you have a good rest. Mom and I will go visit you in 2 days. He closed the car door ruthlessly, and the matter came to an end. It's still unclear how it will end. He can't take Lu Ziwen back to Lanshan Villa, otherwise his mother will be a target. Gu Zia is very measured about this and does not want Gu Ci to be involved in danger again. The last time he dealt with Chen Liangzhu without telling him, Gu Zia was so frightened that he broke into a cold sweat. After the official announcement, Lu Ziwen's fans were the happiest. During this period, the anti-fans attacked Lu Ziwen for using superpowers and unfair competition. He won many championships and took away the efforts of others, especially the runner-up fans, who almost killed Lu Ziwen. Square, even if Universal issued a statement and posted many videos of Lu Ziwen training since childhood, it would not help. People only want to believe the facts they believe in. Now after the rumors were refuted, they fought back and started a carnival. The National Research Institute of China has not researched anything, and after obtaining the experimental video from the Domestic Research Institute, I basically believe that Liu Ziwen has no superpowers. The variation may be related to the Pentagon research at that time. If they want to get the data and know what's going on, they have to find the scientists who participated in the Pentagon's scientific research. That has nothing to do with Liu Ziwen. The information on Wu Jiazhu was top secret. When it was raided, it was also the end of the Yakuza. The information was sealed in confidential files, but few people could get it. The National Security Bureau asked Zhang Junlin for the files on Wu Jiazhu back then, and Zhang Junlin also handed them over. Yes, the scientist used a pseudonym when he was working in the Pentagon, and he did not record it. Now it is difficult to trace it back. This is the work of national security, and it has nothing to do with the Yakuza or Black Hawk. Liu Ziwen's mutant superpowers have come to an end here. But Liu Ziwen was in an extremely bad mood. Li Zhang seemed to see the third master back then. He had no humanity at all. He had been like this since he left the laboratory. He was silent and very scary to look at. After Liu Ziwen came back, he locked himself in the study and saw no one. When Ji Huan came up, Li Zhang spread his hands and said, "Third Master said, no one will be seen. The official rumor has been refuted. This is a happy event. Why is the Third Master not happy at all?" I don't know either. Li Zhang was confused. Could it be that he wants to go to Lanshan Villa to recuperate? You and the guards can just go with you, that's not impossible. Ji Sun wanted to discuss something with Liu Ziwen, so he had to give up and said, "Third Master, please tell me if you feel better." Okay. In the bedroom, Liu Ziwen was alone on the balcony, looking at the distant scenery. After being injected with diazepam in the laboratory, he fell into a coma for a while, and in confusion he returned to the scene in the temple that year. The moment he recalled the dream, he knew that death had found him again. The priest's wanton smile still echoed in his ears. "Ziwen, haven't you made a decision yet? In this life, your death is coming again." This sentence is his reminder. Gu Si asked him if he had known how to undo the curse, but he denied it. He also lied. He has always known how to undo the curse. He has known it since the first life. However, he can't do it. He can reverse fate and let Gu Si and Ziu live again, but he cannot break the curse. Nowadays, both Gu Si and Ziu are alive and well, Zhang Junlin's status is stable, and both Gu Si and Ziu have their own careers that they love. Even if he dies, Gu Si will not follow the path of the rest of his life. As long as she and Ziu can live well, everything will be worth it. When fate comes and you can't resist it, just accept it calmly. No matter how bad the fate is, it is nothing more than this. Fortunately, he gained the stability of Gu Si and Ziu in exchange. I will die with peace of mind. In the Lanshan villa, Gu Si and Gu Ziu were having dinner. Gu Si said, "Ziu, when do you have a holiday? My father and I will take you camping and make an appointment with Ji Xian and your brother. This has not been your always wish. Is it okay?" Gu Ziu was surprised. "Can we really go camping together?" "Sure. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival everyone." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 523. Chapter 523. Brother, do you eat instant noodles? Gu Si is an action person. She took action when she was told to organize a camping trip. After confirming Gu Ziu's vacation, she invited Ji Sun and Zhang Junlin. Things at hand have been very busy recently. Zhang Junlin and Ji Sun are both very busy people. They originally planned to go on vacation, but were delayed due to various things. Both of them were very moved by Gu Si's proposal, but they also felt that camping together would be too bright, so they preferred to live in a world of two. After thinking about it for several days, they didn't know whether it was Ji Sun who persuaded Zhang Junlin or Zhang Junlin who persuaded Ji Sun. The two of them agreed that they could make preparations when Chen Liang's matter was over. Lu Ziwen just wanted to have a world with Gu Si, but the tool man Gu Ziu was indispensable. Anyway, he only had one light bulb, so two light bulbs didn't seem that important. The curse came again, and he also wanted to get along well with Gu Si and Gu Ziu, without being disturbed by anyone, and spend a happy vacation happily. Chen Liangju was only transferred from his post, not dismissed. The crisis was not over yet, but he couldn't do anything in a short period of time. The research institute had already finalized the decision. Lu Ziwen's matter was a foregone conclusion. He could make changes if he wanted to. Nothing. He originally wanted to get the results he wanted from Lu Ziwen's research, which could be regarded as a credit. Who knew that the success would fall short, and Lu Ziwen also gave his own bone marrow to country M, and they didn't research anything. Recently, everyone agreed that the experimental data from the Pentagon back then was the most direct. Maybe we need to find the scientists from that year. Lu Ziwen's matter has come to an end for the time being. With so many scientists working together, if there is any change, there will be news already. Word got out. After Gu Si confirmed her vacation, she made arrangements for the hospital and prepared camping-related matters. After get off work, she also took Gu Ziu to buy camping equipment. Gu Ziu was going camping for the first time and seemed particularly excited. He also wore a set of astronomical telescopes, planning to look at the stars and the moon while camping. He is a miner and a workaholic, and has rarely taken any vacations. Chen Liangdong will approve any vacation he wants, and he can also grant long vacations. His subordinates can solve the recent case. Gu Ziu only needs to monitor it remotely. Ziyu also honestly reported that he was going on vacation with Ji Xian, Zhang Junlin, and Lu Ziwen, and Chen Liangdong didn't say anything. Lu Ziwen's mood returned to normal after 2 days of depression. Whether he was anxious or unwilling, what was supposed to come would always come. He just had to let nature take its course and wait for his fate to come. He also had to be prepared to say goodbye to Gu Ziu and Gu Si. Ji Huan and Zhang Junlin also prepared camping equipment. They had never gone camping before. Zhang Junlin had never been camping since he was a child and had little experience. He bought equipment after reading the post shared by Gu Si. Why is Xiao Si so good? Are you suggesting we go camping or go together? Ji Xian said. Zhang Junlin and Lu Ziwen have a bad relationship. Gu Si rarely gets together. Lu Ziwen is recuperating in Lanshan Villa, and Gu Si doesn't even invite Zhang Junlin to his home. However, Zhang Junlin and Lu Ziwen also had a tacit understanding. They rarely got together to avoid Gu Si's troubles, but they always got together, which puzzled Ji Xian. I don't know, Zhang Junlin didn't want to go camping together. This time he was willing to go. It was Ji Xian who convinced him. Going camping together is considered a new thing. Sooner or later, they will be a family. The relationship between him and the third master will break the ice as soon as possible. To Gu Si, everything you encounter is good. Zhang Junlin doesn't like to socialize except for socializing. He has almost no close friends and is focused on work. Ji Sun really hopes that he and third master can break the ice. If it weren't for the relationship between Ji Dao and Black Eagle, they could have become friends. You are quite active, Ziu is looking for you, Zhang Junlin asked. Ji Huan was also honest. Ziyu said that he hoped we would go together, otherwise he would be embarrassed as a light bulb. When we go, he's not a light bulb, Zhang Junlin raised his eyebrows. He's the only light bulb, the kind that only lives in a tent alone. Ji Sun. Thinking about it this way, Ji Sun felt a little pity for Gu Ziu. Since we agreed to go together, can you and the third master get along well? Ji-sun was a little worried. They had been camping happily together, but they didn't want to cause any conflicts. It was also their first time traveling together as a team, so Ji-sun was also worried. If you are worried and reject them, we will go ourselves. I promised Ziyu. Zhang Junlin frowned subtly, glanced at him, and flicked his forehead. Ji-sun innocently asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing," Zhang Junlin thought to himself, Ji-sun and Ziyu should indeed keep a little distance. Ji-sun actually wanted to go to Zhang Junlin's house again. The last time the global explosion occurred, there was an accident. He was quite regretful, and Zhang Junlin was also quite regretful, but there must be no chance in the near future. Ji Huan himself failed in his character design, and the Zhang family has not come back to their senses yet, so they will probably have to wait for a while. In order to go camping, Gu Xi and Zhang Junlin both prepared RVs. Both brothers and sisters were very meticulous in their work. They made proper arrangements for food, drink, accommodation, and transportation. Living in a tent was not as comfortable as in an RV. The Zhang family already had an RV, but Gu Xi bought it temporarily and modified it. After several days of work, Gu Ziyu made a small room full of technology for Gu Ziyu. Gu Ziyu was very happy. Zhang Junlin, Lu Ziwen, and Ji Xian all had their own secret guards, and the team was relatively large. Zhang Qiang and Li Zhang were responsible for this trip. They each took 4 people, but they did not bring all the guards. At the cusp of this crisis, Chen Lianjia did not dare to have any. As a result, no one has been keeping an eye on Lu Ziwen recently. Gu Xi specifically checked the weather forecast. The weather has been very good recently, which is very suitable for camping. The 2 RVs soon left City A and drove northwest. There are special routes for camping, so they don't need to worry about anything. In order to enhance the camping experience, the guards do not need to participate in their trip this time, they only need to follow them to protect them. Li Zhang and Zhang Qiang complained, "A group of pampered young men came to camp, and they don't want our help. Let's make a bet, can they survive the whole day?" Zhang Qiang thought seriously, young Master Ji-sun is able to take things easy. I don't know about third master, but my master, Xian. Camping activities are not suitable for Zhang Junlin. We arrived at a campsite at noon. Several couples were also camping. They were cyclists and lived on the mountain at night. They all brought tents. The campground was very lively. When they arrived at noon, several couples were still playing Texas. Ji-sun and Gu Ziyu were so hungry that they nibbled on snacks along the way. When they arrived at the camp, it was past mealtime. Because Ji-sun and Gu Ziyu saw a shallow bay on the way and thought it was very beautiful, they stopped to take pictures, which was delayed for an hour. When we arrived at the camp at 1:30, Gu Xi's RV was fully stocked with vegetables, fruits, and meats, but it would take 3 o'clock to cook at this time. Can we still have dinner? She took a deep breath and asked Zhang Junlin, "Brother, do you eat instant noodles?" End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 524. Chapter 524. Is he isolated? When this sentence was asked, the surroundings were quiet. Several pairs of eyes looked at Zhang Junlin. Ji Huan didn't even dare to ask Zhang Junlin, "Brother, do you eat instant noodles? Isn't that just seeking death?" Lu Ziwen was even a little gloating. Zhang Junlin looked at Gu Xi's uneasy eyes and said calmly, "Eat." Gu Xi breathed a sigh of relief, "Great, I bought braised beef noodles, Lautan pickled cabbage noodles, and shredded chicken mushroom noodles. Brother, which one do you want?" "Chicken shredded mushrooms." "Okay, brother." Gu Xi was very well behaved and guilty. Ji-sun and Gu Ziyu, the culprits, were unaware. Gu Ziyu said, "Mom, did you buy so many instant noodles?" Prevent emergencies. Today was an emergency. Who would have thought that we would encounter an emergency less than a day after coming out? There was no time to make lunch. Gu Xi went to boil water to make instant noodles, and Ji Xian went to help her. Lu Ziwen said, I also eat shredded chicken and mushroom noodles. No, you eat braised beef. Gu Xi simply rejected his request, don't be picky. Lu Ziwen. You obviously brought 6 packs of shredded chicken noodles, why didn't you give me a pack to eat? Why is it okay for Zhang Junlin to be picky about food, but not me? Gu Xi whistled and said calmly, Uncle only chose chicken shredded noodles and did not eat braised pork and pickled vegetables. If there is another emergency later, if you eat it, what will he eat? Lu Ziwen. You are such a filial son. Brat, you haven't adopted me yet. Gu Xi really got what Gu Xi was thinking. She quickly boiled water and made a pot of noodles. She even beat a few eggs, washed some lettuce, cut it and put it in the pot to improve the taste of the instant noodles. In addition to a few couples, another car came to the camp. A group of young girls came down. They looked like college students came to camp. Lu Ziwen and Zhang Junlin were resting nearby. Ji Sun helped Gu Xi cook noodles, and then a group of girls, as if he had discovered a new world, he took pictures in their direction. Gu Xi took a glance and saw that he was indeed taking pictures of Lu Ziwen. Several people stomped their feet and screamed with excitement, but Lu Ziwen turned a blind eye. The world's top class, it is normal to be recognized when camping. Gu Xi has not been in the hot search in recent years, but in the past few years, she often saw her, and they could recognize her. Several girls whispered excitedly, and then pushed Gu Xi brought a red-haired girl over. Gu Xi originally thought that she wanted to ask Lu Ziwen for his autograph. Meeting him at this camping trip was a kind of fate. Gu Xi was ready to help. Who knew that the girl shyly asked Ji Sun, I can have you WeChat. Ji Sun. Zhang Junlin narrowed his eyes and looked over. Ji Sun was dressed very refreshingly. It was early autumn in City A and the weather was still very hot. He was wearing a basic t-shirt and light blue jeans. The t-shirt was tucked into his waist. The belt outlined the boy's slender waist and also outlined a pair of long legs. Legs, full of youthful energy and invincible youth, he is the favorite boy among girls. Although Lu Ziwen and Ji Xian are similar in age, even if they are dressed similarly, the third young master a few years ago was very proud of his youth and invincible. However, after the third master and the third young master got married, their youthful spirit gradually faded away, and they became more oppressive and self-defeating. There is no such charming figure as Ji Xian. I want to get to know you. The girl is cute and brave, her cheeks and ears are red, but she expresses her love boldly and enthusiastically. Ji Xian's little pear dimples were looming, and he had no intention of attracting a romantic interest. He motioned her to look at Zhang Junlin, my boyfriend is a bit jealous, he will be angry. I'm sorry, little sister. The girl glanced in the direction of Zhang Junlin in surprise, became even more shy, turned around and ran away. Zhang Junlin. It's really like attracting bees and butterflies. Ji Sun's appearance is so attractive at his age. Gu Xi looked at the girl's back intently. Lu Ziwen raised his eyebrows, what are you looking at? Why did she ask for her brother's WeChat account for no reason? Gu Xi didn't understand, we don't know her. Lu Ziwen couldn't laugh or cry, after adding WeChat, we know her. Stranger, why are you adding me? Gu Xi said unhappily, don't you think it's rude? Lu Ziwen didn't know how to explain to Gu Xi that this was the normal operation of courtship. When you meet a girl you like in the future, you will also ask for WeChat. I wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Lu Ziwen took a deep breath and looked at Zhang Junlin, he will be your son from now on. You can teach him. If there is anything to teach, you will naturally understand it when you grow up. Zhang Junlin was not worried at all that Ziyu would not understand. Such a smart child could understand everything, so why bother? He's like a piece of wood, Lu Ziwen couldn't help complaining, you've been running for 3 years and you're still young. Gu Zia was indifferent and numb to Lu Ziwen's constant mention of his trip to San. The girl couldn't get Ji Sun's WeChat message, so she seemed even more excited when she returned to her RV. Gu Ci and others had no time to care. 2 portions of instant noodles were ready. Ji Sun brought Zhang Junlins over, and they gathered together to eat instant noodles. Gu Zia also posted a picture to the group. Grandma Zhang, are you eating instant noodles in Junlin? Gu Zia, it's dinner time and we only have instant noodles. Changming Hua, wouldn't you rather die than surrender? Grandpa Zhang, are you aware of current affairs? Lin Chunli, why should you take him with you when camping? Zhang Junlin, why don't you secretly form a group? Grandma Zhang, we can't live without one person in our family. Gu Ci was well behaved and said, brother, I must cook what you like for dinner. Ji Sun was more positive than Gu Ci, I'll do it. Gu Ci looked confused, of course you do it. We can't make the taste he likes. Lu Ziwen couldn't help but ridicule, you are so delicate and expensive, but you are picky about food when you go camping. Zhang Junlin said calmly, you are thick-skinned, so naturally you don't understand my persistence. Lu Ziwen, Ji Sun, I have raised you for so many years, so you can serve others. Ji Huan smiled and said, Third Master, whatever you want to eat, I will make it for you. Buddha jumped over the wall. Ji Sun's smile fell, and Gu Ci stuffed him with a piece of beef. You're in the wilderness, where can I find ingredients for you to make Buddha jump over the wall? Gu Zia gloated and said, he still dares to jump over the wall while camping. Mom, let's let him eat instant noodles. Lu Ziwen. Is he isolated? Tomorrow's goal is 10,000 words. Goal. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 525. Chapter 525. There is love, but not much. They didn't stay at the camp for long. After replenishing the water supply, they took a short rest and then headed off. In the morning, Ji Sun and Gu Ci drove, and in the afternoon, they switched to Zhang Junlin and Lu Ziwen. The group of girls actually followed them. Gu Ci looked from behind. I saw their RV in the mirror, several cars driving together like a group. Gu Zia asked, what do they want to do? Maybe it's just a drop-in, don't worry too much. Gu Ci said that they had special status and could not take a group of people camping. Gu Ci was more gentle, and Zhang Junlin was not so easy to talk to. Their goal was to reach Jishan before evening. After Zhang Junlin and Lu Ziwen discussed it, they deliberately got off the highway to go to a convenience store to buy something. When they got on the highway again, they found that the little girls were still following them. Zhang Junlin said, Zhang Qiang, get rid of them. Yes, master. Zhang Qiang took the lead and skillfully blocked their position on the highway. They were eager to keep up with Zhang Junlin and Lu Ziwen. In desperation, they were stuck on another curve, and the two convoys finally diverged. Gu Zia found that Lu Ziwen drove the RV quite steadily. He was not at all wild and unruly when driving a racing car. He did not speed and rarely changed lanes. This was not a holiday. There were not many high-speed cars and a few of them drove fairly steadily. Gu Zia listened to the song and played cards with Gu Ci in the RV. Lu Ziwen looked at their mother and son so leisurely, with a smile on his lips. In another car, Ji Xian opened a bottle of milk and said, just eat half of the instant noodles. Are you hungry? Can you drink some milk? I had a late breakfast, so I'm not hungry, Zhang Junlin said with a smile. Ji Sun opened half the window, enjoying the wind, feeling relaxed and content, and even whistled, feeling very happy. Zhang Junlin smiled unknowingly, besides camping, what else do you dare to do? Ji Huan is actually a very contented person. Zhang Junlin is willing to spend time with him. Even if the two of them just sleep under a tree and bask in the sun, he feels very happy. What he has always wanted to do is travel with Zhang Junlin. Now, my wish has come true. Can you cook me a meal another day? Ji Xian hesitantly made a tricky wish. Change, Zhang Junlin made a quick decision, don't torture each other. I didn't know anything about cooking at the beginning, so I was willing to spend time learning it, but my brother didn't want to spend time learning it. Ji Sun's little white flower and green tea attributes showed up. My brother doesn't love me at all. Zhang Junlin had goosebumps all over his body and glanced sideways at him. Ji Sun didn't see him either. He leaned back on the chair with a sad look on his face. Zhang Junlin said lightly, I can cook instant noodles for you. Ji Sun laughed and stopped acting, it's so insincere. Zhang Junlin reached out and touched his head. Ji Xian took his hand and clasped his fingers together. We were at the camp just now, were you jealous? No. Really, Ji Sun said jokingly, the little girl came over and asked me for WeChat, and her face turned dark. Zhang Junlin refused to answer, I'm jealous. Are you in such a good mood? Ji Huan smiled so much that he couldn't hide his little pear, held his hand, put it to his lips and kissed it. If it were more obvious that my brother is jealous, I would be even happier. Zhang Junlin thought of the fate of his girlfriends who were involved in the scandal, it's unnecessary. Gu Zia whistled a little and said something to Gu Ci. Gu Ci always lost to Gu Zia when playing fried gold flowers. Did you cheat? Mom, who are you humiliating? I need to cheat to play with you, so why should I lose face? Gu Ci, son, I feel like you are humiliating me. Lu Ziwen was overjoyed, I'll avenge you later. Gu Zia clicked his tongue, ha. Ziu, can you drive? Lu Ziwen asked. Yes, Gu Ziu is over 1.6 meters tall. Although he is under the legal age, he can drive. In order to meet emergencies, Chenfei still teaches him how to drive early. The theory is very simple. For someone with a big heart like him, for a teenager, it's not that difficult. Dad, I'm still underage. You don't want to play cards with Mom. Let me drive. I don't care if you get stopped at a service station. Lu Ziwen couldn't help laughing, even if you really know how to drive, for the sake of the safety of others, I won't let you drive on the highway. It's too early for Chenfei to teach you how to drive. Sooner or later it will be opened, Gu Zia said. The father and son just chatted. They rarely talk about trivial matters at home, so going out to play was a good opportunity. They played several rounds of golden flowers, and Gu Zia won them all. There was no sense of challenge at all, no more playing, Mom. I went to play with my phone. Fine. Gu Zia lay down on his little bed and played with his mobile phone. Gu Ci went to the front to accompany Lu Ziwen. She brought over the warm water. Lu Ziwen took a few sips and said, do you want me to drive it instead? You should have a rest, eat some snacks, and play with your phone, Lu Ziwen said with a chuckle. You've been smiling today. Gu Ci looked at him with a smile, are you happy? When you were pregnant, I always wanted to wait for Zia to be born, and I would take you on an outing together to the world. Lu Ziwen once looked forward to the life blueprint after his son was born, and also thought that he would definitely be the happiest man. Gu Ci remembered that Lu Ziwen had made plans, but she had always vetoed his plans. I have low self-esteem and fear of society, so I rejected your proposal. I just want to stay at home and not see anyone. Yes, but I still made a plan, very detailed, Lu Ziwen said. Didn't you see it later? Gu Ci shook his head. Lu Ziwen had a life plan book. His wishes and short-term life plans would be written down and then realized step by step. After his death, Gu Ci never had the courage to read his wish book. Gu Zia pricked up his little ears and listened to the gossip for a long time, and couldn't help but ask, Dad, where do you want to go? Lu Ziwen glanced at Gu Ci, chuckled and said, I want to go to Europe to see the aurora and penguins. I also want to take Xiao Ci to explore Antarctica and take a boat to the southernmost point. Guzio lay on the bed and stopped playing with his mobile phone. He asked dissatisfiedly, isn't it a wish of a family of 3? What about me? Who wants to bring a tow tank? Lu Ziwen clicked his tongue. Guzio clicked his tongue in displeasure, now I'm the one you can't get rid of. Are you angry or not? Gu Ci chuckled and said, Ziyu, don't listen to him deceiving you. He has always had you in his wish list. I couldn't help but check my gender when I was more than 4 months pregnant. When you first started to move, he still kept asking you. Lie on my belly and let you call me daddy, and even play his favorite music during prenatal training. Really, Guzio didn't believe it. He felt that he had always been his father's cheap son. His father loved him, but not much. Of course it's true. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 526. Chapter 526 Happy Camping Time. Goosey's eyes were filled with happiness. It was a particularly sweet time with no one to disturb her. She was taking good care of her baby. Her pregnancy was good and bad, but Lu Ziwen was very nervous. Especially when she was just pregnant, Lu Ziwen was very abnormal and unexpected. Perhaps in his plan, Xiu had never been a possibility, and being pregnant with Xiu was an unexpected surprise for them. Lu Ziwen and Gu Xiu are both by her side. Now when she thinks of the events in her last life, the memories are sweet. As long as there are memories of Lu Ziwen, they are very sweet. Gu Xiu asked, Dad, when mom is pregnant, do you want a boy or a girl? Boy, Lu Ziwen did not hesitate. He had always hoped to give birth to a boy. Xiao Ci didn't want to check the gender at first, but I insisted on checking. He also made a bet with me, saying that he was dreaming about a boy. Gu Ci chuckled, no, at first he said he had a dream about a fetus. He went to the master to interpret the dream. The master said it was a boy and he had to go. Cha, I always thought it was an excuse. Did you really interpret the dream? No, Lu Ziwen said happily, I just want a son. Gu Xiu despised him, you still favor boys over girls. Old antiques all favor boys over girls. Lu Ziwen was in a good mood, but also very complicated. Actually, I am destined to have no wife and no children. Gu Ci. Gu Xiu. Gu Xiu became interested, Dad, please tell your story. Lu Ziwen did not mention anything about his first life to Gu Xiu. He said calmly, I was chosen to go to the temple when I was born because of my special destiny. I had no wife and no children. Whoever criticizes the fate will not make mistakes. The fortunes approved by the priests are never wrong, Lu Ziwen said, so he was very surprised when Gu Ci became pregnant. In fact, it was only in the last life that he and Gu Ci were officially married, and they met Gu Ci. When he was destined to have no children, he unexpectedly had Gu Xiu. He was shocked for a long time and repeatedly asked the doctor to confirm that Gu Ci was really pregnant. It took him a long time to accept the fact. He always felt that Gu Xiu was given to him by fate. He is the only person who can protect Gu Ci after his death. He wanted a son because he felt that his son could take his place and protect Gu Ci. It was not that he favored sons over daughters. Gu Ci felt sorry for him. Back then, he grew up alone in the temple with no relatives and friends. Now he has a wife and a son, but they are also forced to separate. Lu Ziwen's life has always been difficult to achieve perfection. Bullshit fate, then who am I? It shows that fate can also make mistakes, Gu Xiu said, I am a living example. Lu Ziwen thought to himself that fate never makes mistakes, even if it does, it will be corrected automatically. Gu Ziu must not believe these words. Gu Ziu is really an atheist, but Lu Ziwen is not. He believes in himself, but he also knows that fate cannot be resisted. He has experienced being pushed by fate. Years. Gu Si chuckled and said, "That's all in the past. Now just be fine." "That's not right," Gu Ziu said innocently, lying on the bed. "I want to adopt my uncle." "You and your mother are not married. In theory, you have no wife and no children. I don't count as your son." Lu Ziwen. Gu Ziu seemed to have hit a blind spot. "Can't refute." Gu Si all laughed. "Tong Yan Wu Ji said it really well. You are quite happy to pass me on to Zhang Junlin. What's there to be unhappy about? I can't be your son anyway, so what's wrong with being my uncle's son?" Gu Ziu said. "I have a strong background. From my great-grandmother to my uncle, everyone can support me. The most important thing is that it's a pleasure to inherit 2 pieces of property." Gu Si chuckled and said, "Where did you get 2 pieces of property? The Black Hawk belongs to Ji Sun in the end." With the relationship between Ji Sun and his uncle, Ji Sun can be regarded as my cheap little daddy. Then isn't his property mine? Gu Ziu's logic was perfect. I am Tian chosen son, perfect. Lu Ziwen chuckled and said, "You think so? Black Eagle's property is not considered personal property. Ji Sun also has to choose others to train him. If you want to inherit Black Eagle, you must become Black Eagle's heir. Even if I become the heir, the property is not mine, and I have to choose the next generation to train. I'm crazy. I won't do this kind of dirty work," Gu Ziu said. "I worked in Kuoan good." The family of 3 were playing and playing. Gu Ziu felt a little sleepy and pulled the quilt to sleep. Gu Si lowered his voice and said, "Then do you still want to see the aurora and explore Antarctica? Let's go together when we get back from camping." Whatever Lu Ziwen wanted to do, she would do it with him. "Under the current circumstances, I shouldn't be able to go abroad. If he goes abroad, there are many things he can't handle, which will be very troublesome. Chen Liangdong will not let him go abroad." Gu Si forgot about this incident and had to give up. "The days are long," Gu Si said with a chuckle. "There is always a chance." Lu Ziwen smiled slightly, then laughed again. "Yes, the days are long." Gu Si opened the window a little, and the sunshine outside the window was just right, which also swept away her haze. She couldn't help but laugh. "Actually, Ziu is right, he wants to adopt his brother. You and I are not married, so you are really the fate of having no wife and no children." Lu Ziwen chuckled, but fate was not calculated that way. Gu Ziu was actually his son, his son. He was a person with an extra fortune. Every person's trajectory is fixed. Gu Ziu was someone who shouldn't have appeared, but his appearance was a gift from heaven to him and Gu Si, and he was also their baby. Ever since Gu Si became pregnant, Lu Ziwen had been worried that Gu Ziu would not be born. Even when the curse came, before Ziyu was born, he was worried that Gu Si and Ziyu would disappear with him. At that moment, he was unwilling and desperate. Destiny is destiny. If you have a child, you may not be able to born it, and if you are born, you may not be able to grow up. Third brother, if there had been no accident back then, would this kind of day be the day you had been looking forward to? Gu Si asked gently. "We usually do our own thing, accompany Ziyu when he grows up, and take him to play around with him on weekends." He grew up together. Yes. These peaceful days and years are what he had expected. Gu Si thought to herself, "That's good." The sun was so good, and her lover and son were by her side. It was also the day she had longed for. Gu Si doesn't like a vigorous life, she likes this kind of dull, flowing life, passing slowly day by day, calm and calm. The car arrived at the foot of Jishan Mountain an hour earlier than expected. There is a large rose field at the foot of Jishan Mountain, which is very suitable for taking pictures. After everyone stopped and asked the owner of the flower field about the price, Gu Si also picked 2 bouquets of roses and put them in the RV. Ji Sun also followed suit and picked 2 bouquets of roses. They played at the foot of the mountain for an hour and then slowly drove up the mountain. Jishan is a good place for camping. Zhang Junlin and Lu Ziwen don't like to make noise. When Gu Si chose the route, he chose the most remote route. Most of the people who camp are young people. In fact, they don't like to choose secluded routes. They like to have campsites and crowded places, where they can meet new friends and have surprises on their journeys. Gu Si deliberately chose a secluded place, hoping that there would be no strangers, so there was no camp in Jishan. The group of people drove all the way to the mountain and stopped at the most suitable place for camping at the top of the mountain. Gu Zia went to look at the scenery as soon as he got off the car. He carried his camera and took pictures everywhere. The mountain scenery was beautiful, and the towns in the distance at the foot of the mountain were looming. It was a good time when the sun went down. The pictures were particularly beautiful. Gu Si pulled Lu Ziwen sitting on the stone. Gu Zia took a group photo of them. They rarely took group photos together. "Brother, come and take a family photo for us," Gu Zia called Ji Huan over. Ji Huan was pulling Zhang Junlin to take pictures. The two of them took selfie sticks and took pictures everywhere. Zhang Junlin did not refuse. When they came out to play, Zhang Junlin was more cooperative than Ji Sun expected. After Gu Zia gave the camera to Ji Sun, he rushed between them. Lu Ziwen and Gu Si were sitting together. The stone was so big. Gu Zia thought about it and simply sat on Lu Ziwen's lap. Ji Sun took a picture and was overjoyed. When you sit on Master San's lap, it's almost covering his face. Gu Zia happened to squat in front of them, and stood and held hands to take several photos. Finally, he had a family photo. Ji Sun Art Online. The photos taken were also beautiful, with good composition and artistic conception. "That's a good shot," Zhang Junlin said. "I'm a designer, and I can also take pictures myself." "Of course the photos look good," Ji Sun blinked. "When the light is better tomorrow, I will take a hard photo for you, and you can go directly to the competition." Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and all of Zhang Junlin's pictures are the best he has ever taken. At the foot of the mountain, I took some very good pictures in the rose field. Zhang Junlin sent them to the family group and received unanimous praise. "Grandma Zhang, this picture is well taken." Lin Chunli, "Wow, son, you are so handsome, you could be on the cover of a magazine." Zhang Minghua, "You can directly choose these photos for the next financial cover." Grandpa Zhang, "When you go camping, do you bring a photographer with you?" Gu Ziu, photographed by Ji Sun. Gu Ziu's kid successfully silenced the family group. After the sun went down, the weather was still very good. Ji Huan wanted to sleep in a tent instead of sleeping in an RV. After Zhang Junlin hesitated, he asked Gu Ziu to help, and the two set up the tent together. Gu Si and Ji Sun were cooking in the RV after Zhang Junlin set up the tent. Lu Ziwen and Gu Ziu also set up a large tent. They took out the folding dining chairs and covered them with tablecloths. Lu Ziwen mixed wine and Gu Ziu cut fruits for him as decoration and prepared dinner lively. Ji Sun only made Zhang Junlin's portion and was even slower to prepare than Gu Si. They went out to play and didn't pursue anything in terms of food. Gu Si even wanted instant noodles to kill a group of people again. Although the sun had set, the sky was still very bright, and night came slowly. It wasn't until they had dinner that the night came slowly, and a few people gathered around a big tent to play cards. When the night got late and the sky was full of stars, Ji Xian took Zhang Junlin to watch the stars, and Lu Ziwen took Gu Si for a walk. Gu Ziu slowly realized that he was actually a light bulb. There will be an update today. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 527. Chapter 527. He is the firmly chosen one. It was also interesting for Gu Xi and Lu Ziwen to take a walk. They were walking behind Gu Ziu, the distance was no more than 20 meters. Gu Ziu looked at the stars with his telescope, and turned back with disgust and said, "You guys are so annoying. What are you following me for?" Gu Xi looked at Lu Ziwen's deflated look, chuckled, and said, "It's your retribution, you must tease him." When they were going for a walk, Gu Ziu also carried a telescope and wanted to join them. Unexpectedly, he was disliked by Lu Ziwen. After being disliked enough, he remembered that this tool was indispensable. When Gu Ziu came to his senses, Lu Ziwen being ridiculed by him all the way, it was obviously Hedong for 30 years and Hexi for 30 years. "I am generous and not as knowledgeable as him." Gu Ziu continued to taunt, "If you can't make a quarrel, just pretend to be generous. If you can't make a quarrel, just mock me, Ben-san. Dad, that's all you can do. You all should say less." Gu Xi tried to smooth things over. She was not very interested in the stars in the sky, and Gu Ziu was also someone who was too lazy to study. However, without a telescope on the mountain, it always felt like there was a little less of a sense of ceremony. Gu Ziu was looking at the stars. The two of them walked nearby and didn't go far. Lu Ziwen complained softly, "With my son here, it's not convenient to fall in love." "How can we talk to you without my son?" Gu Xi pointed to the distance, "Then you have to keep at least 30 meters away from me." She shook the hands they were holding. "You still want to hold hands? Tool people are still somewhat useful. The top of the mountain is not too big." Ji Sun and Zhang Junlin were sitting side by side on the rocks on both sides, whispering. Ji Sun turned around and saw Lu Ziwen's family of 3. He frowned slightly and said, "Why are Third Master and Xiao Ci always following Ziyu? What are you going to do if you want to take a walk, talk about love, and follow a child? Wouldn't it ruin the scenery?" He has heard Gu Ziu mocking the Third Master several times. Zhang Junlin also noticed, "I'm worried that Ziyu will encounter any danger in the mountains. Ziyu is already 13 years old. If he goes out with Xiao Ci in 2 years, people will suspect that the brother and sister are in love. Zhang Qiang and Li Zhang are both here. What surprise can happen?" Ji Xian asked with a chuckle, "Do you really want to meet your stepson?" Zhang Junlin nodded and reached out to hold Ji Sun's hand. Ji Sun naturally opened his hand and clasped his fingers tightly. Zhang Junlin's hand was bigger than Ji Sun's. Every time he held it, Ji Sun felt a heartbeat. A sense of security. "Why?" Ji Sun frowned, "do your parents want you to have a child?" Gu Ziu is the biological son of Lu Ziwen and Gu Xi, did you know that? Ji Sun nodded, "Yes, even though we don't know the reason, and the Third Master didn't elaborate, it's hard for Rong Li and I to ask further." "Does your family also know?" Zhang Junlin nodded, "Grandpa and Grandma love Ziyu very much. He works in the National Security Bureau and has a bright future. He needs a good background. The Zhang family must be his backer, and his relationship with Lu Ziwen cannot be made public. As my son most." Ji Xian thought to himself, did he simply want to give Zi a supporter? Zhang Junlin noticed his silence, hooked his neck, and asked with a chuckle, "What are you thinking about?" Ji Sun shook his head, his Yandera nature was showing up again, he was unhappy but he hid it. Zhang Junlin was not used to him, but his voice was gentle, "Xiao Sun, I am not a roundworm in your belly. If you are unhappy, I hope you can tell me." Actually, he could guess it, but he didn't want to condone Ji Sun and hoped that he could tell it honestly. He is not a mind reader and cannot accurately guess what Ji Sun is thinking every time. Frank communication is the key to a long-lasting relationship. 3 heartbreaks may turn into 1 disappointment. The more times, the relationship will fade. The third master and Xiu are father and son connected by blood. Do you feel envious? Ji Xian asked uneasily, don't you want a person whose blood is thicker than water? Chang Junlin looked at the stars in the sky. In fact, the Zhang family was open-minded but traditional. They were very open-minded about the education of their children, but they were also very traditional about certain things that were agreed upon. This also affected Zhang Junlin to a certain extent. Zhang Junlin was born in the Zhang family. Many decisions and choices must take into account the family. Regarding family considerations, the most important thing is to continue the bloodline and carry on the family line. It doesn't have to be a son, a daughter will do, as long as it is one's own flesh and blood. There is always a way for the elderly. The concept is that when a person dies, if there is no one to worship him, he will become a lonely ghost. After he reunited with Ji Sun and realized his greed, Zhang Junlin gave up on love and marriage, but still thought that when he reached a certain age and disclosed it to his parents and grandparents, he would definitely let them embrace him during their lifetime. Great-grandchildren will not let them pass away with regret. The Zhang family will definitely have an heir. This is what Zhang Junlin has always insisted on. He gave up marriage, but did not give up children. He wanted children in many ways. But since he decided to take Ji Xian home, he also gave up the child. Every step he took was carefully considered and he would not hesitate again after making a decision. Therefore, he agreed to the adoption proposed by his grandparents. Ziyu also needs an identity. He needs a child. Ji Sun will not allow him to have his own children, and he will not do that. It is unfair to Ji Sun. Even if Ji Sun promised him a blood-related child, it would still be duplicitous. He would be wronged and disappointed. He could understand and accept it, but he would still be very sad. He took Ji Sun's hand and took him home, so that he would not be wronged or sad. I have had many different thoughts about children, Zhang Junlin said. I know that the extreme situation is at the forefront, and I don't want my children to bear all this, so I have firmly thought about it. The Zhang family is in my lineage. I will never let my children take this path. Later, I figured out that I have the ability to make the Jida stand on the edge of the storm and land safely. What? Later, it's back to the original point. I don't want you to be disappointed, and I don't want you to be sad. Just have a son. He has Gu Si's blood, and I will raise him as my biological son. Ji Sun was surprised and subconsciously held his hand. He had never dared to reveal his true feelings. He had to admit that he had never had much confidence in front of Zhang Junlin. He never thought that Zhang Junlin would give up anything for a person. He seems to have always felt pessimistically that one day they will drift apart, at the ends of the world, and fairy tales do not belong to him. He is still the child abandoned on the street. He will definitely accept calmly that Zhang Junlin has compromised for him, and if he retreats, he will also sacrifice. Having both giving and gaining is life. Actually, Ji Sun said with difficulty, if you really want a child of your own, I will accept it. Xiaoxian, don't lie. Zhang Junlin chuckled and said, when you lie, you don't even dare to look into my eyes. Ji Sun, who was determined to have his own way and wanted to lock him up, carefully hid his possessiveness and paranoia, fearing that one day he would regret it and stop holding his hand, so his attitude was left in the dust. He has grown up and become sensible, but it makes him feel distressed. When he was imprisoned, he just wanted Ji Sun to be normal, to be treated quickly if he was sick, and not to go crazy and bite people. But when Ji Sun really managed to hide all the water chestnuts, Zhang Junlin felt very depressed. Is he being mean? I don't want children, Zhang Junlin said softly. Ji Sun hid his own feelings over and over again. He had low self-esteem and was sensitive. He could only tell him over and over again that he was not the child who was abandoned on the street. He is also someone who is firmly chosen by others. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 528. Chapter 528, Night at Camp. Guzio rubbed his goosebumps. His uncle is really disgusting. Is your relationship so disgusting? The top of the mountain is only a little bit big, and Guzio is right between Jihuan, Zhang Junlin, Lu Ziwen, and Gu Xi. He can hear his uncle talking about love, and he can also hear the whispers of his parents about love. It's so disgusting. Falling in love in the mountains is indeed very romantic, but it also has a very practical problem. Gu Xi was bitten by mosquitoes and her hands were all covered in bruises. Ji Sun and Zhang Junlin were not much better. They went back to the RV to wash up very early. The RV was very big. It is actually very convenient to take a bath, cook, and sleep, and the water source is relatively sufficient. After taking a bath, Lu Ziwen asked Guzio, "Do you want to sleep in the car or in a tent?" "Is there any difference?" Guzio blinked and was applying cooling oil. "You sleep in the tent, and Xiaosai and I will sleep in the RV. If you want to sleep in the RV, Xiaosai and I will sleep in the tent." Guzio understood what he was saying. "You have to separate from me anyway. I'll sleep in a tent." His tent was set up relatively close to the RV, while Ji Xian and Zhang Junlin's tents were a little further away. Guzio's arm hurt and itched. "I should ask Shenfei for camouflage. Painted 3 layers inside and outside. Look, do mosquitoes dare to bite me? Does camouflage also prevent mosquitoes?" Ji Sun came out to dry his clothes and listened. Guzio said, "Do you look down on our military products? Camouflage sunscreen, insect repellent and poisonous snake proofing have many functions. None of the sunscreens on the market are as good as camouflage." Ji Sun chuckled and said, "Would you like an electric mosquito coil?" "Can't stand the smell." "Don't do it." Guzio refused, sprayed some medicine in the tent, and then carefully swatted the last mosquito in the tent to death, making sure that no mosquitoes could get in through any gaps. Xiaozhai lay down peacefully. Ji Sun has not camped many times and is inexperienced, but he is very cautious. Zhang Junlin is a stupid person and does not want to sleep in a tent. The RV is quite comfortable, but there is a smell from the cooking he just made, which Zhang Junlin dislikes. The tent was bought by Ji Sun, who was very scheming. The tent was not big, and it was suitable for one person to sleep in. However, 2 men who were almost 1.9 meters tall seemed a bit crowded. Zhang Junlin saw through his careful plan at a glance. He has a bit of idle baggage. This wilderness is different from home. Once the door is closed, it blocks the view and you can't see anything. But it is different in the tent. Zhang Qiang, Li Zhang, and others are outside. Zhang Junlin is a misophobia and an idol. With a heavy burden, Ji Sun refused all unreasonable requests. "Brother." Ji Xian is the best at acting, aggrieved and pleading, while Zhang Junlin is as iron-hearted as ever and remains indifferent. Zhang Qiang and Li Zhang are outside. Zhang Junlin gritted his teeth. "Don't act recklessly." Ji Sun would never listen to him. "He has always acted recklessly." "Then please keep your voice down." Zhang Junlin. Zhang Qiang and Li Zhang were smoking, pretending not to see anything. They had to work shifts at night anyway, and they wanted to go to bed now. After smoking, they would not be too comfortable to sleep again. Guzio is a night owl. He lies down looking at his mobile phone or watching horror movies. The sounds at night are particularly scary. When the movie creates a scary atmosphere and it is quiet, he seems to hear some sounds, but they are not very real. Guzio feels like he is in the wilderness. Isn't there a wild beast in the ridge? It's a bit scary. I couldn't help but turn up the sound a little louder. Suddenly a head appeared on the screen, followed by a scream. Guzio was unfazed. That's it? The scariest part of the film passed, and Guzio heard another sound. He paused the film in confusion, opened the tent, and stuck his head out. "Dad, Mom." No one answered. Asleep. Brother, uncle. Li Jiang was very alert and came over in a hurry. Young master, what's wrong with you? Why did I hear a strange sound? Oh, Zhang Qiang and I are fighting each other. Li Jiang said. You can sleep peacefully, it's getting late. It's only 10 o'clock, who goes to bed so early? Gu Zia was convinced and retreated again. In the tent, Zhang Junlin, who was covered in sweat, kicked Ji Sun and said, get out. I don't. Rounding off, it's still 9,000. Let's continue tomorrow. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 529. Chapter 529, Why does my uncle always have a black face? When Gu Zia got up, Gu Si and Lu Ziwen were already watching the sun rise. They were not far away from him. Zhang Junlin and Ji Xian had also gotten up early and were watching the sun rise. Gu Zia was the only one who missed the sunrise. And saw the little tail of the sunrise. Why didn't you wake me up while watching the sunrise? Gu Zia complained unhappily. Then why did you stay up late watching horror movies? Ji Sun said with a smile. Li Jiang said you watched horror movies at 3 o'clock. Gu Zia. Hateful, Li Jiang actually complained. You actually watched a horror movie. They were all staged. Can they scare you? Lu Ziwen asked with interest. He didn't know that Gu Zia had such a hobby. Isn't it quite fitting to watch a horror movie in the wilderness? Zhang Junlin said. That's true, Lu Ziwen and Zhang Junlin rarely agreed. Gu Zia ran to wash up and ignored them. When it was almost time to rest, they drove to Angel Lake. This was a scenic spot on the way to camp. It was a place that Gu Zia had always wanted to visit. Angel Lake in autumn has beautiful scenery and is very suitable. Vacation. Gu Zia didn't sleep well at night and continued to sleep soundly in the car. Gu Si looked back at him, dumbfounded. In another car, Zhang Junlin glared at Ji Xian. Lu Ziwen and Gu Si were both human beings. Zhang Junlin had given Ji Xian some face, and he wanted to give him a slap in the face when he was alone in private. Ji Sun chuckled and said, Brother, you sleep for a while, and I'll wake you up when you get there. Zhang Junlin ignored him. Ji Sun thought to himself, he has such a bad temper. It took 3 hours to arrive at Angel Lake. Gu Zia was in high spirits after catching up on his sleep. He jumped out of the car and saw the blue lake. The sky was as blue as a wash. There was no ripple on the lake surface, like a huge mirror. Green mountains and yellow trees stretched in the distance. Birds fly by from time to time, and it's as beautiful as a fairyland. It's so beautiful, Ji Xian also thought it was beautiful and couldn't help but admire it. He had been imprisoned in Wujiazhu for many years and was a frog in the well. Later, he followed Lu Ziwen and was studying and socializing. Although he traveled around the world on business trips, he basically came and went. In a hurry, I rarely have the mood to visit mountains and rivers, and I have no time to stop and take a good look at the scenery. There is an amusement park near the lake. Parents and children like to go there, and they prefer to enjoy the natural scenery. There is only a small pier in the lake, and there are boats for rent. Gu Zia wanted to go boating, so a few people rented 4 boats, one for Ji Sun and Zhang Junlin, one for Lu Ziwen's family, and 2 boats for the guards. Zhang Qiang complained, if someone comes to assassinate me, I really can't hide. Then you and your master suggest that you stop playing. Why don't you go? My master can fly. Li Jiang spread his hands, I'm not worried. Zhang Qiang. Li Jiang, you really deserve a beating. Zhang Junlin also considered the safety issue. He had always considered it carefully, but seeing Ji-sun's energetic appearance, he didn't want to spoil the fun. In the past few years, he had not been in the mood to travel around, so after a little thought, he followed Ji-sun's plan. Soon. Zhang Qiang thought to himself, what a foolish king. To make it more difficult for them to protect themselves, Zhang Qiang left 2 men on guard at the shore, and the others rowed along with them. They were obviously novices at rowing, and they bumped into each other after rowing 20 meters. Zhang Junlin and Lu Ziwen looked at each other, and Zhang Junlin said, everyone can do his own thing. The 2 of them had a tacit understanding and rowed in opposite directions. Zhang Qiang and Li Zhang also separated, each following his own master. The lake was very large and the visibility was very deep. Gu Zio lay beside the boat and said with a chuckle, Mom, there are fish, lots of fish. Don't lie down too deep, or you may capsize. Lu Ziwen said, this kind of boat can easily lose its balance. It would be bad if it plunges headlong into the water. If it moves too much, it will easily sway. Dad, I believe in your skills, Gu Zio said cheerfully, and then asked Gu Si, Mom, do you feel that your uncle is showing off his face this morning? Yeah, Gu Si suppressed a smile. She had noticed it a long time ago. She seemed to be quarreling with Ji Sun, but she still followed Ji Sun. Ji Sun was like a lively and active cat, trying to provoke him from time to time. Suddenly, Zhang Junlin didn't know why he was unhappy, and he had a dark face all morning. Lu Ziwen and Gu Si both tacitly agreed not to mention this incident, but Lu Ziwen rarely gossiped. Xiao Si, they too, your brother can't be. His expression was very subtle, and Gu Si understood instantly. She also tolerated her gossip. I don't know. I really don't know. Normally I wouldn't ask this, how embarrassing. I never expected it. Lu Ziwen glanced in the direction of Ji Sun and Zhang Junlin. Xiao Xian looks refreshed in the morning, but the other one has a dark face. It's really suspicious. This body shape shouldn't be the case. You know it very well. Gu Si raised her eyebrows in disbelief. Have you never eaten pork, or seen pigs running? Lu Ziwen said confidently, in an age with such advanced information, you don't need to go out of your way to understand what you want to see but can't see. Gu Si said calmly, if my brother doesn't like you, don't gossip. I'm full, and I gossip in front of him, and he gets angry. What good does it do for me? Lu Ziwen was confused. I can't tell. Zhang Junlin is quite. He racked his brains to find an adjective, but there was no suitable one. He instantly wondered whether his knowledge reserve was not rich enough. Gu Zio listened to his parents playing riddles and couldn't help but ask, what are you talking about? Lu Ziwen looked at his clueless son, and Gu Si was speechless. She almost never talked to Gu Zio about the events of her previous life. Many of the reasons for avoiding talking about it were that she was also very guilty. Now, she is curious. Zio, how did you live after your mother left in your last life? Gu Si asked. Gu Zio said openly, I like to be alone. Li Zhang takes care of my daily life. Ji Sun occasionally comes to have a meal with me. I basically don't leave the house. For a period of time, I didn't go out for more than 3 years. Autism and homelessness are not the same as social anxiety. When he goes out, he is afraid of accidentally making some social news. Gu Si and Lu Ziwen were both a little distressed. Lu Ziwen said, so, except for Ji Sun and Li Zhang, you won't have contact with anyone else. The old man will come to me, Gu Zio said, except for them, I rarely have contact with outsiders. By the time he comes into contact, almost all of them will be dead. Like Lu Shijia and Gu Chuiyun. No wonder, Lu Ziwen thought to himself. In his next life, he was his younger brother when he was in school, and all his classmates in the doctoral class could be his father. Most of the people he came into contact with were adults. Gu Zio didn't have a chance to come into contact with his peers. I don't like surfing either. I have a lot of doctoral courses and am very busy at work, leaving little time for recreation. Affected by Chen Liangdong's words and deeds, he is a bit serious and ignorant of emotions. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 530. Chapter 530, The Little Wolf Cub That Diverts Trouble to the East. Even if Lu Ziwen and Gu Xi wanted to teach Gu Ziu, it was too late and they could only let nature take its course. Lu Ziwen was also worried that Gu Ziu and Ji Sun's relationship was too close, which would cause him to misunderstand. He and Gu Xi's gossip about Zhang Junlin and Ji Sun would not expose it in front of Gu Ziu. Gu Xi also thought to let nature take its course. Her precious son, you just understood it late. Gu Ziu is sensitive, but not entangled. Although he felt that his parents had told some secrets, he did not pursue the details. He took photos everywhere with his mobile phone and made short videos for Chen Liangdong to enjoy. Lu Ziwen paddled the boat and slowly rowed to the middle of the lake. This place was quite deep and the lake was blue. He stopped to rest. Gu Xi took out the prepared sandwiches for them. It was considered lunch. Gu Ziutor he picked up some bread and threw it into the lake, and soon a school of fish gathered over him. Li Zhang saw them fixed in the middle of the lake, his heart kept beating, and he couldn't help but row over, "Third Master, why don't you go back to the shore? That's almost it." "What's wrong?" Gu Xi could see Li Jiang's uneasiness. "Your family of 3 is standing still in the middle of the lake. You are a fixed target. If a killer comes to kill you, we can't stop the first shot," Li Jiang said in embarrassment. "This is the middle of the lake. The field of view is so good and there is no obstruction. It is a favorite among snipers. No one can dodge the first shot. They are still parked in the middle of the lake, it is too dangerous." Li Jiang is the captain of Lu Ziwen's guard. If he had remained indifferent to such a dangerous scene, his position would have been eliminated long ago, and he did not want to break the family happiness of the family of 3. "It doesn't matter, just follow me," Lu Ziwen said calmly. "If nothing happens, just ask Zhang Qiang to be on guard." Yes, Li Jiang was helpless. He had reminded him, but the third master didn't listen, so he had no choice but to let the people on the shore walk around and observe, just in case. Calm waves are the best. "Your matter is over, there won't be a killer, right?" Gu Xi asked. "Since my identity has been exposed, apart from the killer you arranged, I have not been assassinated. There has also been an explosion around the world. It may not be possible to say that, it is difficult to say if it is abroad, but it is very safe at home and the environment is different. If anything happens, I can protect you." Lu Ziwen said that he could also protect Gu Xi and Ziu in extreme circumstances. Gu Xi has a shadow over his words. The cost of protecting them is him, so forget it. But Gu Xi did not argue with Lu Ziwen. Lu Ziwen had a strong desire to protect him, especially in front of her and Ziu. He insisted on going his own way and was difficult to persuade, so Gu Xi prayed for everything to be safe. Gu Ziu was half lying on the boat, taking pictures of the fish swimming up, feeling very leisurely. Zhang Junlin and Ji Sun were visiting the lake, and they were also in a very lazy state. They stopped on the lake to bask in the sun, too lazy to move. The autumn air was crisp, the sun was bright but not scorching, and they were most comfortable. Ji Huan also had other ideas. Before boarding the ship, he brought the roses he picked yesterday, which was much more romantic than the family of 3 there. Unfortunately, Zhang Junlin turned a blind eye to his romance. "Brother, why are you so angry after just smiling?" "I won't do this next time," Ji Sun teased him with his talk show jokes for a long time. Unfortunately, Zhang Junlin's laugh point was too high, and Ji Sun failed in all of them. "You swear is like drinking water." Zhang Junlin laughed and kicked him. "You have no credibility. Swearing in bed is not trustworthy, but swearing now is still trustworthy." Ji Xian came over with a playful smile, and the boat rocked, and Jang Junlin held onto the side of the boat. Ji Sun was afraid that the boat would capsize, so he had to sit tight. One disadvantage of this kind of small boat is that it is easy to capsize. Third master is like a spirit. I am so refreshed, but you have a dark face. Maybe he will make random guesses. Think about what he is trying to make up, and look at you with loving eyes. Don't you? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Ji Sun brought out Jang Junlin's arch-rival. Sure enough, this trick is very effective. Is he so boring? Does he still care about such things? Jang Junlin frowned. Lu Ziwen wasn't that boring, right? Who cares about his rival's affairs in the house? That's impossible to tell, Ji Sun said meaningfully. Everyone is curious. When normal people see us together, they must want you to get up and down. After all, your momentum is here, but if you stand on the opposite side, I must be curious. Bet 50 cents, he must be gossiping with Xiao Ci. Gu Ci really doesn't do such things as gossip at all. The mouth is also very strict. Jang Junlin doesn't care if others know, and he doesn't feel any shame, but that's Lu Ziwen. He didn't like Lu Ziwen, and he was always his rival, and he was his brother-in-law. When he thought that Lu Ziwen really looked at him with a loving look, as if he was like a woman, Jang Junlin felt uncomfortable all over. Ji Sun remained silent after the disaster was diverted to the east. Jang Junlin frowned. If Lu Ziwen asked you, do you know what to say? I understand. Ji Xian smiled at him obediently, with 2 blushes on his face, and his shy expression was well preserved. Brother, do you think I acted well? Chang Junlin. This little expression was completely different from the wolf-like fierceness last night, and Jang Junlin wanted to ignore him for a moment. Ji Xian thought to himself, oops, I overacted. Ji Huan opened a bottle of sugar-free tea for Jang Junlin and took out the sandwiches from his bag. That's it for lunch. Don't be too picky. Conditions are limited. Jang Junlin held the sandwich, had no appetite, and looked helplessly at the sky. Why did he come to camp? You are asking for trouble. End of this chapter.